Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into something that is, honestly, an absolute game changer. We're exploring the timeless rules of personal finance from our source material, really zeroing in on the foundational habits that can literally flip your financial trajectory upside down over the next 5 to 10 years. You know, money is arguably one of the most vital tools we have, yet it's crazy how so many of us are never taught how to actually manage it like a professional. So today, we're objectively mapping out exactly how financially successful people structure their wealth. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Does earning more money actually make you rich? Well, it sounds totally counterintuitive, right? But the source material highlights this absolutely fascinating reality. There are people out there earning, say, $3,000 a month who are actively building lasting wealth. Meanwhile, you've got others pulling in 30 grand a month, and somehow they're still living paycheck to paycheck. No way, right? But the difference isn't their income, it's their financial habits. The reality is, most of us just aren't taught how money really works. I mean, schools do a fantastic job teaching math and science, but personal finance, hardly ever. And because of that missing education, millions of hardworking folks just struggle financially their whole lives.
And because we lack that formal, professional education, it's so incredibly easy to manage our money based on pure emotion rather than logic. Every single day, people fall right into these behavioral traps that just crush their financial independence. We buy things we simply don't need, we take on totally unnecessary loans, we completely ignore investing, and we end up trapping ourselves in that endless cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. Now sure, these habits might seem kind of harmless in the moment, but over time, they compound. They become the absolute biggest roadblocks to financial freedom. But hey, the really reassuring takeaway from the text here is that becoming financially successful doesn't require a massive salary. It simply takes a shift in mindset and building the right habits.
So, that brings us right to our first core principle from the text. Rule number 1, pay yourself first.
See, most people operate by paying their bills, their rent, their entertainment first, basically just hoping to save whatever magically happens to be left over at the end of the month. But spoiler alert, usually there's absolutely nothing left. I absolutely love this quote from the text because it flips this whole concept on its head. Think of it like planting a seed before eating the fruit. It's such a powerful way to frame it. Think about it. If you eat all your food right now and never take the time to plant a single seed, you're literally guaranteeing you'll never have a harvest to enjoy later. By moving money into your savings or investments the very second your salary hits, you're planting those seeds first and making sure your future harvest is secure.
And this brilliantly illustrates a highly effective benchmark established in the text. The rule is simple. Automatically move at least 20% of every single paycheck into savings before you spend a dime on anything else. By carving this out immediately, you create this instant professional financial discipline without even having to think about it. Really, this single habit is the entire foundation of building true wealth over time.
So to make this completely foolproof, the text outlines a clear, actionable playbook. Set up an automatic transfer to your savings or investment account to trigger exactly on payday. The whole point is to take the human element, and let's be honest, the temptation, completely out of the equation. The biggest, most common mistake people make here is trying to rely on sheer willpower, waiting to see what's left over at the end of the month. The real professional secret? Automate your success so it happens consistently, every single time.
But, saving alone isn't quite enough, which leads us straight into rule number 2, spend less than you earn.
Modern society is constantly pushing us to spend, right? We're just bombarded with ads for the newest phones, luxury clothes, buy now, pay later schemes. Literally every message screams at us to spend. Now, what's really interesting about these numbers is the simple math behind wealth. Imagine person A. They earn $40,000 a year, but they spend $45,000. Yikes. Now look at person B. They earn only $30,000, but they spend just $20,000. So who becomes wealthy first? The answer is incredibly obvious. Financial freedom actually begins the exact second your income becomes greater than your expenses. Wealth isn't about your total income, it's entirely about the gap between what you earn and what you spend. The larger you can make that gap, the faster your wealth is going to grow.
So how do we guarantee that gap? Well, the primary action step here is to track every single expense for the next 30 days. You need a crystal clear, objective picture of exactly where your money is going. The real silent wealth killer mentioned in the source is increasing your lifestyle every single time your income goes up. You know how it goes. You get a raise, so suddenly you think you need a nicer car or a more expensive apartment. Actually, scratch that. It's more like you feel you've earned the right to splurge. But tracking your spending is the absolute most effective, professional way to break that cycle and fiercely protect your wealth gap. Okay, so once that gap is created, where exactly should all that extra money go? That leads us nicely to rule number 3. Build an emergency fund.
Life is wild, you know? It's completely unpredictable. A sudden job loss, a blown transmission on your car, a totally out-of-the-blue medical emergency. These things can happen at literally any moment. And the thing is, most financial crises don't become absolute disasters just because they're expensive. They become disasters simply because people aren't prepared for them. When you map it out on a timeline like this, experts highly recommend covering a baseline of at least 3 to 6 months of your total living expenses. This right here creates your ultimate financial safety net, and it needs to sit in a very safe, easily accessible account, so it's ready the exact moment you need it.
So, the crucial point is establishing a very firm boundary. The source highlights that this fund is absolutely not for vacations. It's not for a weekend shopping spree. It is only for genuine, unexpected emergencies. Having a dedicated emergency fund gives you something money usually can't buy: profound peace of mind. Instead of having to borrow money or spiral into credit card debt when times get tough, you're able to rely entirely on your own savings. And honestly, that is the very definition of true financial security.
The action step here is incredibly simple. Start building this fund today, even if it's just small amounts at first. Getting into the professional habit of setting that money aside is so much more important than the initial dollar amount. And critically, you have to avoid the common mistake of dipping into these emergency savings for casual, non-emergency spending. This fund exists to protect you, so you have to protect it right back.
All right, so we've covered paying yourself first, managing your expenses to create a solid wealth gap, and building a safety net to weather life's unpredictable storms. But that brings us to the next logical question. Now that you are fully protected from emergencies, how do you actually make your money start working for you instead of you constantly working for it? Well, there is an entirely different set of rules used by millionaires to actively grow and multiply their wealth once these professional foundations are set. But we're going to have to explore those powerful wealth-building secrets in our next explainer. Until then, get out there, implement these first 3 rules, focus on those action steps, and start taking professional control of your financial future today.